Welcome to CEMS Club Vienna podcast led by the Alumni team, where the pulse of success beats through the stories of CEMS alumni.
Join us as we uncover the career journeys of successful alumni who walked the path we are on.
Get ready for a dose of inspiration and practical advice from diverse fields: finance, consulting, sustainability, entrepreneurship, and beyond.
Seeking career guidance or a dose of motivation.
CEMS Club Vienna podcast is your express ticket to the world of possibilities.
Hi everyone, welcome to our very first episode of the CEMS Alumni Team podcast, where we invite ex-CEMSies to share their career and life experiences after graduation. We hope that you will get inspired by today's story and that this initiative will start a whole bunch of podcast episodes in the future. Today we would like to welcome our extremely inspiring guest Sandra Moser, an ex-CEMSie that has worked in companies that many people dream about. After graduating from CEMS, Sandra has worked in Google, BCG and Microsoft. On top of that, Sandra is a very active ex-CEMSie, and she has been joining some of the events organized by CEMS Club Vienna, and I had the honor to get to know Sandra at a CEMS alumni branch. She is here today to share with us more on her experience and insights into her badass career journey. Today, here with me is also Nico from the alumni team, and we are really much looking forward to the interview today. Hi, Sandra. We are very happy to have you here today with us. How do you feel?
Hi, well, thank you for the very nice intro and thank you for having me. That was a nice intro. Felt a bit exaggerated, but thank you for the nice words. How do I feel? Well, I would say I'm very nervous at the moment. It's my first podcast that I'm recording.
Same here, so we feel you.
Yeah, we're all in the same boat here.
Yeah, that's what we discussed before, and I was like, that's good. So it's going to be trial and error. I like that, and we're going to grow by that experience.
Exactly.
So yeah, but I'm very much looking forward, so thank you for having me.
Yes, so thank you also from my side for being here, Sandra. And I would like to start it off with a quick icebreaker question for you. So if you were a Microsoft Office application, which one would you be and why?
If I were a Microsoft application.
Microsoft Office application.
Oh, well, I would say I would be PowerPoint. Because I love to share stories, I love pictures, and I think I'm very much a storyteller, and that's what you can do with Microsoft, combining text with pictures. So I guess that's me.
Amazing.
That's very great, and I actually think it matches you really well. So for the first part of our podcast today, we would like to cover the career topic, some career path behind where you were already, what you did, and things like that. So, as we could see, your first work experience took place in 2017 during your CEMS internship at Sodexo, a French food services and facilities management company in Sweden, where you did your CEMS exchange, right?
Yes, exactly. So that was basically, it was my business project though. For me in general, the experience that I had with CEMS was a bit of a different or special one, because I did 1 full year at WU, that was my home university, but I also did 1 full year at SSE. And as part of the exchange there, I got to do my business project in Stockholm, and that's when I worked with Sodexo. Yes. So with a number of very ambitious other CEMS students, we tried to define a strategy for Sodexo. They were kind of like trying to break the silos and try to position them also internally in a different way. And we did a lot of interviews, tried to understand also the change management initiative behind that, or the struggles behind that, and tried to help them define a new strategy. And worked with them for 4 months, and I learned a lot, especially transferable skills, I would say, but very helpful also for the stuff I did afterwards.
Cool. I think we're all very excited about the business project and how it's going to go and which company we're going to have. Yeah. So it's always very interesting to hear about such experiences.
So you're still waiting then basically for the companies you're going to get assigned to.
Yes,
amazing.
Exactly.
You can very much look forward to it. It's not just the company behind, but also the people you get to work with.
Nice. And how do you think it shaped you and the beginning of your career journey, basically?
So I think it did to that extent that I learned a lot that I'm very much a people person, and that also culture means a lot to me. And to be honest, after the business project, I was so excited about the way Swedes would work together. We know they love consents, and like that's sometimes also challenging, especially for the Austrians and Germans, I feel. But it was just so nice to work with them and to really learn that you do not always need these very strict hierarchies, but you can really be successful as a company also when you work on eye level and when you get to, pursue this trial and error culture, let people explore, let people grow. And for me, I very much learned about also the cultures that I value, where I would see myself in, also the field of business, of course, and also after my business project, I could actually see myself working in Sweden. So after CEMS, I applied for a lot of companies also in Sweden due to that great experience that, basically was made possible through CEMS.
Yeah, thank you also for sharing also those cultural aspects that you just mentioned. I think that's really interesting and valuable insight here. I would like to ask you, like in the same year, 2017 then, you also worked as a marketing working student at Education First Austria, but then in 2018 you joined Bayer, which is, for the people that don't know, one of the largest pharmaceutical companies in the world, as an IT strategy development intern, where you help them to digitize the company processes. Yes. So my question, or our question here would be, why did you decide to step away from marketing and choose to dive deeper into IT and the pharmaceutical industry? And did you have any previous IT background?
Good questions, a lot of questions. I'll try to answer them. So I think what I would definitely do again and recommend maybe also other CEMSies or in general students that still have the time to do so is try to explore, use that time, try different things. I wouldn't maybe force myself into, finance, because I felt that's not my thing. But hey, I've also previously done an internship in accounting and finance, so it's okay. Explore, try out new things. And for me, that meant at that point, Education First is a Swedish company. So I was like, okay, maybe I will find a similar culture that I valued, that I knew from Stockholm. And I got this very nice offer. So I took it on, and I think sales is a very tough school, but you learn a lot. So I was very thankful for that time at Education First. But I also found out that it's hard to say I'm not really a salesy person, because I guess I like to talk, and and also I tend to get overly excited about things. But I was also the one telling people that would call and, try to book a very expensive education trip. I would tell them, well, you're students, you rather do it through university because it's for free. So I'm like, well, I don't know if that would harm actually their business model. But I tried it, and I grew a lot. I learned a lot. I also took over some other projects within Education First that were not really related to sales, but more on the project management side, event management side. And then I decided I want to move on, and I want to learn and explore a bit more, so I can later on maybe also take an educated choice when it comes to which should be my first full-time job. And the other question you asked, if it was my first exposure also in the tech industry. Well, I was never an engineer or heavily engaged into, IT projects, or I don't have the technical background. But I did a commercial high school, so a hack, when I did my A-levels. And I would say this was my first exposure to IT, because I specialized in information technology. So there were some, I would say, IT-heavy classes in there as well as part of my education. And I always liked that. I preferred the business background, but I also like the struggles. And for me, these were struggles because I'm not too techy, I guess. But to learn and grow from that. And after I did my A-levels, I did my first real internship. I think it was 2 months or so. And I did that with the Austrian Federal Computing Agencies. And that was an IT project management project that I did. I had the business background, but I was working with a lot of engineers also back then. And I mean, it was a very young and unexperienced version of myself, which is okay. But it was fun to see and to learn, and also to see where I could maybe potentially see myself in the future. And from then on, a few WU years followed, bachelor, master, and then again, I would say the real tech exposure. I was actually working in an IT consultancy in between, but more on the, I would say, back office side. I was involved in some projects, but also not very tech heavy. And then I had to take the decision, but what's next? And I interviewed, or I checked a few job offers I found out there. And I got hooked by the Bayer one because, as you described in your intro, it would allow me to bring in my business background, but also combine it with IT, which I found exciting.
It's probably already one of the insights for us CEMSies here that we should not focus on one industry. We can try ourselves in many different fields. We are young, we are free, we can do mistakes, we can jump in between different things, but very interesting. Maybe jumping more into the tech background. As you told me before, in fact, it was Google that has headhunted you in the first place and invited you for an interview. How did it feel when you read this message? How is it to be approached by Google itself?
You know what? I actually feel a bit embarrassed to say, but of course I was very excited. But I'm also very much a person that I kind of trust my gut feeling, and if I have decided for one thing, I would go with that plan. I would try and then see where it leads me from there. And when I actually received the message from Google, I'm not gonna lie, I was very proud. I was telling my family, I was overly excited.
Who wouldn't be?
And I was like, oh my gosh, look at me. I'm like, because I thought about a lot about what does it mean to be successful, but I guess I never really saw myself as successful, because I still feel it's very an individual thing, right? And everyone has to find for him or herself. But of course I was excited. And of course also curious, but back then I had already decided. So they reached out actually regarding an internship. And back then I had already decided that I'm going to go back to Stockholm for my final semester, and from there actually start working with Bayer. So I responded to that email that I feel very honored, but that I have already made some plans now. And I don't know if that was stupid. I don't know if I was not strategic enough in my career.
I think it takes some guts to turn down Google, but it turned out that at the end you still landed a job there, right?
Yeah, because what I feel also is that if it's meant to be, it's going to happen again at some point, right? I would not say I turned down Google, and also saying this, it just feels like, oh, I know it all and I'm the best, which is not the case. But at this point, I just felt I have taken a decision, and this feels right, or these steps or that step feels right. But what I did, and that's why I ended up with Google, is once I had finished my my internship with Bayer, I decided that, of course, I'm not going to stay with them. It was a rough time also, Monsanto takeover and layoffs and freezes and whatever. And also, when it comes to values, I was not really sure if that really aligns with what I was looking for. So I applied for a number of other jobs. I was looking into jobs in Stockholm, because that's where I could see myself. I also interviewed, with a few companies in Austria. And then, of course, I was like, okay, tech industry. And I remembered the Google email. So I was looking in my mailbox if I could still find the email that I once received from Milena Dank, that was her name, the recruiter. And I still remember, like I was lying in bed, like I finished my master's, no job yet. So that's what you do some research on potential jobs, and I don't know, already a mix of disappointment because of course some things like did not work out and some did, and then like one day you feel like you're stupid as hell, and then you're like, oh god, yeah. So it's like the classic roller coaster of life, I guess. And I remember this Google email, so I was checking my mailbox and I found it, and I remember I just emailed Melina. And I told her kind of like this, yo, I'm back thing. So I was like, would you still consider interviewing with me? No, but I just explained that I finished my master's now, and if they're still looking to build up their German team, I would be super excited actually to interview. And her response was super friendly. She said like, yeah, they're still looking for people, employees, whatever, applicants to join, and we could kick off the interview process. Yeah.
And then that led to the situation where you spent almost 2.5 years as an associate account strategist and digital growth consultant. What does that concretely mean? Like, what were your responsibilities?
You studied LinkedIn really well. Was it LinkedIn?
Yes, it is. The
Amazing.
main source of information.
I feel like I also should have prepared via LinkedIn. Like some of the things I can't even remember anymore.
It rather really did her homework here.
Nice. Well, it speaks for some students. Nothing has changed. Yes, I did. So I actually took quite a gap between my master, so the graduation, and my first full-time job. Yeah, I had, I think, 9 months off or so where I also interviewed with Google before I started working as the associate account strategist. And maybe I know you were asking and you're curious about the role, and give me a second. I'm going to explain in a minute what I just wanted to share with you at this point. And I think that's, for me at least, it's very important to remember. We all feel like there's only this one way to go, and we have to be very strategic. And honestly, sometimes I thought, because Edwarda, you were saying before, that you should basically go with the flow and explore and try different things. Well, sometimes I thought maybe it's better to have this clear idea in mind, and you build up one internship builds up to the other, and your industry, etc. For some people that works, and that's really cool. But I was not yet sure where I would head, and maybe it's because of my first generation background and I was kind of lost, or maybe it's because I was curious. But I think there's not one successful career path, and what I think we need to learn is that in the end we're all clever and driven and whatever, like inspiring people, and we will find our way, and everyone has his or her own path, and for me, it was basically a lot of my CEMS students, they already had their career step or full-time job planned or fixed actually in their 4th semester. And for me, it was just important to finish up in Stockholm, to have a great time, of course, to try to figure out where I see myself next. Yes, of course, I spent quite some thoughts on that as well, yes. But don't pressure yourself. It will just work out. And in the end, like, I got a lot of rejections also for some jobs, and a lot of things worked out. But don't pressure yourself. There's not this one way.
Yeah, I totally agree.
But now, getting back to your actual question, yes, I started as an associate account strategist. So that's basically when you do not have an MIT or whatever a technical background, you will not land an engineering job at Google, I guess. So I was working with different companies, different sizes, different industries, and I did consulting, but basically on a marketing and sales level, I would say. So it was very much the first job. You learn a lot about Google products, how they work, and it's of course also a bit techy with like all these machine learning stuff and so on. But so that's what I did in my first job. And the cool thing is that Google provides a lot of ownership. So that's also like part of the leadership style, I guess. It's like ownership, responsibility, so you can really grow as a person. And yes, my first role was very salesy. And was I overly excited about this? Probably not. But the cool thing is you can take over so many side projects also. You gain so much knowledge about the projects, about processes, about different industry when you talk to different people. You can just explore and I think like really make the best or like kind of like design the job and the role also how you want to see it. Because you can do so and Google allows you to do so. And so this is basically how everyone starts within Google right after university. So you're going to be an associate account strategist. Mm-hmm. And it's fun and it's very exciting and you learn a lot. And afterwards you can decide in which direction you want to move. And I took over the role as the agency development manager or agency account strategist, something like this. So I don't know what the official term is at this point. But I was basically working with the 5 largest Austrian and Swiss agencies, so media agencies. So it was very much about educating what's top of mind within Google, how they should consult their clients. It's very much workshop-based, skill trainings, etc. So it was less salesy, very much relationship and stakeholder management also. But again, a role you could really define and live how you want to live it.
And how would you say are the people at Google? Mm-hmm. What was your office like? Maybe you have some favorite snacks or employee benefits you had when you were working in Google.
I don't know. Have you guys seen the movie The Internship?
Yes.
You have seen it, okay.
It's really nice.
I watched it actually when I got the Google offer.
Is it true? Is it really so?
Yes. So already when I interviewed with them at the office, I was like, I really want to land this job and I think I'm going to be very depressed and my therapist has to do really good work if I don't land that job. And no, just kidding. All good. But no, it's, yes, it's very colorful and dynamic and exciting. So you know how people described it or actually Googlers described it? We always said it's like Erasmus but very well paid. Or you could also say it's like Disneyland for grown-ups. So choose which one you like. But yeah, it was actually a very great time. And what I liked the most about colleagues at Google is that these are all very clever people, very clever, very ambitious. They've seen and done so many things, but clever and ambitious in a very humble way. It's great people to work with, and yes, it's a lot of nice office snacks, a lot of nice food, massage chairs and other stuff, and you could spend 24/7 there.
Maybe to bring this Google part to a close here. Why did you decide to leave Google in the end? And could you see yourself returning to the company at some point?
Yeah, that's actually an easy question for me. During COVID times, we were all in home office, and that's where most of us actually moved back to the home country. We were still working with Google, but we were on this GeoFlex arrangement, meaning we could work from anywhere. And during that time, I just realized that I'm actually ready to settle in Vienna. And settle for me did not mean like marrying, kids, house, whatever, but it just meant like finally having my own apartment, buying my own bed or stuff like this that I never really had.
Yes.
You can relate. And the office in Vienna, the Google office, it's just like super small, meaning it's also super senior. So the only role where I could see myself there, also level-wise, that would have worked out was the cloud sales role, which was very greenfield, meaning really tough sales, and I didn't really see myself in that role. So I decided I'll just look for other options. So it was very much, driven by the desire to just move back to Vienna.
After Google, you joined BCG as a marketing and employer branding expert. If you could share, what are some differences that you have experienced in terms of working styles between two companies, Google and BCG? How is it different?
So the people are quite similar, of course. I mean, a lot of them are CEMSies. They are clever, they are driven, they're curious. So that was very nice. But it's just that Google, I would say, is very much a trial and error culture and very much on eye level, etc. And BCG just functions differently. And for some people, that just works as well, and that's totally fine. BCG is still a very great company to work for. They're amazing, but it's just like a bit more hierarchical, I would say. And you have less flexibility to actually grow through mistakes. So for me, I just learned that but I'm also very much a people person. And there are some people that, they are very much driven also by this. And BCG still is a great company. You will learn so much, especially if you work into consulting. It's really a nice company to work for. The people there are super young also. So many fun events after work. I'm still very good friends with many of them. So very close, which is nice. But yeah, Google is more also to exaggerate a bit now, it's I don't know, let's get together, hug each other and sing a song vibe, kind of. And BCG is, it's a strategy consulting firm. It's just a bit different, right? It's work, and function. And
there's also another big name in your CV popping up, which is the one of Microsoft, right? So, and then after 1.5 years, you returned to the tech industry by entering Microsoft as a customer success account manager. Why did you decide to leave consulting? Was it this hierarchical company culture thing, or other things as well?
So, to be honest, because again, I adapted to the culture, and it was also very nice and fine to work in BCG culture. So there are a lot of things also valued about that. Maybe it was a bit these value things and maybe how people function within that industry. But not only, I would say mainly because, as you mentioned in your intro, I did not do the classic consulting. So I would say that my role was very exciting in the first year, where I could define all the strategic partnerships by myself. I did a lot of strategic work. I invented a lot of new, I started a lot of new initiatives, and it was fun. But after a year, it just got a bit repetitive, and I just felt that I cannot really develop in a way I want to develop. And so it was very much also a growth thing in my case. And to be honest, also right after Google, I also interviewed or checked in with Microsoft, because it was the next logical step. If you want to stay in tech and you want to move to Austria, you just check Salesforce, they're building up the office, yes, then there's Microsoft. But back then there was not really a role available where I could see myself. So actually also Microsoft, they reached out to me via LinkedIn, because I have been in touch with them previously. They shared a role which was not too salesy, because that's what I told them back then. I would rather do customer success or post-sales. And yeah, we kicked off the interview process. So it was more driven also by the desire to just, move back to tech, to do something that's more IT heavy also, and where I can really grow within my role as well. And I interviewed, and I just thought I would see what happens, yeah.
What would you say are the differences in working hours? Or the work-life balance?
Microsoft and Google, you mean? Or Microsoft BCG, or all of them? Or
all of them. Or
all of them.
Did you experience big differences?
I think it's hard to compare, because especially for Google and Microsoft, it's very much what you make out of it. Well, let me explain. So it's basically Google was my first job. So I was a bit insecure at the beginning, then maybe you're a bit of, if you feel a bit insecure at the beginning, you just think okay, I have to do these extra hours, extra work, but no one expects it. So I would say Google and Microsoft, it's very much the same. So it's very fair hours, ranging from, I don't know, at Microsoft also sometimes I would do 35 hours, 37, because it's like around summertime and all the clients are basically on vacation. And then it's like 45 plus a few hours, but never above 50, honestly. Like, I think it's very fair also from the benefits you get and what they pay and everything they provide you, like both Google and Microsoft. Very fair work-life balance. You should not worry about that. And with BCG, in the role that I was, it was also like, it was not crazy hours, but if we're talking about consulting, I mean, depending on your project, yes, it's going to be 60, 70, 80 hours or so. I mean, it's consulting, right? It's MVP, so you should be aware of that. But it's also fine. The people I know, they're still very driven by what they learn and the people they get to work with. So I guess if you want to do it, I would do it right after university, because then it's just like, it makes the most sense to me, at least, yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
Thank you very much. I think we would now jump quickly to talk a little bit about your time at CEMS.
Mm-hmm.
How would you overall assess the impact of CEMS on your career?
Mm-hmm.
How could one benefit the most out of the CEMS experience, in your opinion?
Mm-hmm. So I dare to say that I would not be where I am today if I did not do CEMS. Why? Well, it's super easy. You mentioned before that I got kind of headhunted by Google, and that was through the CEMS network. So that was not via LinkedIn or so. I think like the corporate partners, if it's still the same, they have access to, or at least that's my logic, they have access to all students from the database.
So, yes.
That makes sense. So I guess they were like just searching for German-speaking students with maybe a salesy background. And this is how I got the attention from Google. And this is why I landed my job at Google. And this is for sure also why I'm now at Microsoft, because, of course, I mean, for Microsoft, it was also nice to see that I've previously worked with Google. So when it comes to my career, I'm confident to say I would not be where I am today without CEMS. Plus, yeah, again, also that kind of answers your second question, like how would someone best profit from the CEMS experience? I mean, first of all, have fun, enjoy, don't take it too serious. I mean, it's like a great time and all chilled, all fine. But make use of your network. And I'm not talking about the classic Austrian way, like if you know someone, you for sure land that job easy. I mean, you still have to work hard, I guess. But honestly, like things like referral or just in general, talking to people to learn about a job, to learn about a role, to prepare for interviews. I've done so many one-on-one talks also with people that just that reached out to me via LinkedIn and wanted to learn more about my experience, about my mistakes, about my fails, my wins, whatever. Use your network. Really use it. Reach out to people. Don't be afraid, especially within the CEMS network. They're all happy to help. That's the most valuable thing, I think, when it comes to CEMS. Yes, then there are the transferable skills. That's nice and cool experiences. It's very helpful. I mean, you learn a lot. Don't get me wrong. But it's also very much about the network.
Totally.
Yeah. You just briefly mentioned the skills that we learn at CEMS.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what we would also be interested in, if for those that are interested to follow a similar career path to yours in the tech industry, what would you recommend to learn on top of the CEMS courses, like to be competitive also in that job market?
Yeah. So I think it always helps to educate yourself on some more on hard skills also. Maybe educate yourself on that. Maybe check out some Coursera classes, I don't know, you don't have to be a programmer, so an engineer, but like things like data and AI and big data and whatever, you name it. Just educate yourself about the industry, maybe do internships in that field with other companies before. Yeah, so I think it's very much a bit of, but the hard skills and the industry, inform yourself, get curious and try to learn, but don't overthink it. I think it's very much in the end also these little projects you do aside and the internships and the things you try, and that just all builds up to each other.
Perfect. And the closing question for CEMS experience, maybe quite shortly, we wanted to also allow you to have some nostalgic moment in here to maybe like recover one of the brightest memories you have from CEMS, maybe some event that you had or a trip you did together, something that really just is still with you in the end of the day when you think about, my CEMS years, how nice they were.
So honestly, I always get a flashback to my CEMS time when I'm back in Stockholm. For me, it was just so nice also I loved WU, but it was in a way also overwhelming because there was job and side projects and family and boyfriend back then and like so much. But CEMS in Stockholm was just like focusing on myself, focusing on friends and like uni, of course. And whenever I'm there, I'm thinking of all the fun events we did. Like I was also engaged in CEMS Club actually, so organized some of the things, and whether it was the Valburg in Uppsala or the Cantus event. So I just love to think about the time and also the memories I made and like the people I got to meet that are still very close friends, spread out all over the world. So it's not this one event. Maybe the graduation it would be where all the people were coming basically meeting up together where we had our reunion. But it's very much about the people and the friends I made during that time, which makes it very special and magical.
That sounds very exciting. We're also going on our exchange soon, so
yeah.
I hope our experience is also going to be as bright and as exciting.
You will love it.
So thank you very much. We would like to now jump to another section of our interview today. It's called CEMSies on Fire, Firing with Questions. So here basically you just have to either choose this or that or provide some quick associations that come to your mind when you hear certain questions. So the first question is Google or Microsoft?
Google.
Dublin or Vienna?
Oh, easy Vienna.
Microsoft Teams or Google Meets calls?
Microsoft Teams.
Microsoft Word or Google Docs?
Microsoft Words.
Internet Explorer or Google Chrome?
Internet Explorer.
Spar, Mensa or Bashli?
Bashli.
Messe Prata or Creao?
Creao.
TC or LC?
TC.
WU or SSE?
That's a mean one, but SSE, I guess.
We can stop the interview here.
Okay, so I will take it from here. Now the important ones. Volksgarten or Loco?
Volksgarten, sorry.
Club Mate or Macava?
Macava.
Guinness or Otterkringer?
Oh, jeez, I don't drink beer. What about Radler?
Okay, we skipped that one. The best CEMS Club team is?
CEMS Club Vienna, we all know. They know how to party and have good events.
Home office or working offline at the office?
Home office.
Your role model?
I love Oprah Winfrey.
Consulting or tech industry?
Tech.
Your hobby?
Spinning. Supercycle. Woohoo!
Wow. Okay, perfect. To close up with today's interview, we would maybe like to ask you more or less a personal question about your future, how you see it. You mentioned in one of your posts that your parents would usually portray you as a role model for your 3 siblings. Indeed, you're a role model for many of us. But what's your dream? What are you willing to achieve in your career?
I was thinking about this a lot the past weeks, especially since I'm kind of working on a little side project at the moment. So I guess the perfect thing for me would be that I would still work in tech many, many years from now, but maybe just 30 hours, 25, whatever a week. And aside to that, I want to start my own thing and like thinking of CEMS times back then, sit together with cool and inspiring people and just try to create and build something and learn and fail and stand up again and try again. So this mix, like doing my own thing, having full flexibility, allowing myself to be creative, having social impact in combination with tech, that would be my dream.
That sounds indeed very dreamy. If I could ask one more question here, how is it to be a woman in tech?
That's an interesting question. I think you should always stay true to yourself and be who you are. I try to adapt a lot, but I'm not this very pushy person and like, I don't know. I'm more like on the softer side, I would say, and very empathetic and very much people-focused. And that can be very challenging because my classic meetings look like 5, 6, 7 guys, engineers, 50, 40 plus, whatever. Like also on client side, I'm not really talking within Microsoft. It's still 2/3 probably engineers male and the rest female. Yes, it can be tough, but just be confident with who you are and like just know. I know my weak points, but I also know what I can bring to the table. And just try to be true to yourself. And they hired you, they hired us, whatever, for a reason. And don't try to change yourself.
Amazing message. Maybe also from my side, a final question. What would be the one message that you would like to send all the CEMSies out there?
I think it's really like I mentioned before, there's not one way that leads to a successful career life. Everyone has to define for him or herself anyway what makes you happy, what does success mean to you. For some it's more like focus on private stuff, for some it's very much career focused, for hopefully many it's a mix of all or both. But really trust in yourself and like try also to have an idea about where you would like to see yourself. I guess like strategy it might help, but also just trust that things will come as they're supposed to be and explore, be curious, but don't really push yourself too hard in the end. I mean, come on. It's like life is so nice, have fun, and then you'll all do good, I'm sure. Really don't stress, a bit more trust, chill, and all fine.
That gives me a bit of goosebumps, actually. I think that many of us are, at the end of the day, not always sure where we want to work in the future, what do we want to do, and yeah, I heard that people might even get, including me, we can get a bit more like anxious what the future is going to bring us, where we're going to be ending at, and then we hear some success stories here and there, how someone did this or that. So I think it was really, really nice to hear from you today that it's also nice at times to just say no to Google because you don't feel like it. It's also very nice to also write an email back a couple of years later and just say, hey guys, I think I'm ready, and I think it's really, really nice to like dare to do what you feel is the best for you. So I think it was a very, very good talk today. What do you think, Nico?
Yeah, totally agree. I would also like to really thank you for taking the time, making the effort, swing by WU here, and really provide us with those very valuable insights and also the nice storytelling and the stories that you shared with us today. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much for having me and giving me the opportunity also to share. And also to all the CEMSies out there, if you want to reach out, like honestly, the offer is there. Just let me know.
Amazing. That would be nice. Thank you so much. Enjoy the Punschstand today if you're staying on the campus. Perfect. Thank you guys for listening to today's podcast. We hope that the story of Sandra has inspired you and also you were able to take some takeaways for yourself and how you want to proceed in the future. Just go with the flow. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.